everyone. This is Reporters, the program that brings you stories from France 24's top journalists around the world. I'm Jeannie Godula. Every day on the southern coast of Yemen, clandestine boats drop off a strange cargo. Men, women, and children. They come from Somalia and Ethiopia, and they're running from either war or poverty back home. It's an exodus unlike any other. The UN says a record 70,000 people have attempted the crossing this year. But at what cost? They risk their lives over the Gulf of Aden to reach a promised land that's one of the poorest countries in the world. And once in Yemen, they often have miles yet to go. Some hope to make their way to neighboring countries or even America. Our reporters, Karim Hakiki and Cyril Vanier, met a group of Somalians on the first step of their quest for a better life. They had just washed up on shore, hungry and afraid, on the southern coast of Yemen. We'll be talking to Cyril Vanier in just a few moments' time. But first, here's his special report.
Finally, it's over. For Dahaba, the woman in red, this is the first drop of water in more than a day. The pack of biscuits will be her first meal. She and her fellow travelers left Somalia 24 hours ago on board a rickety boat. And now they're in Yemen. Footage of migrants here is rare, yet the exodus is massive. They're frightened, famished, and exhausted, but they're safe at last. Further down the track, another group of Somalis is just coming out of its hiding place in the bushes. Where are you from?
From Somalia. They threw us overboard and we were still very far from the coast. Then we got here and we just walked and walked and walked.
For fear of getting caught, the smugglers who brought them here dumped them in the sea hundreds of meters away from dry land. This time, all 45 people on board survived, but that's not often the case. A local charity takes them in. A few tattered mattresses on a slab of concrete is all they have to offer. It's not much, but for now, it's enough.
What's your name?
Name, age, nationality. Registration is over quickly. And pretty soon, silence. What they need most right now is sleep. We find Dahaba on one of the mattresses, and her granddaughter, 3-year-old Sabri.
The boat was full of people. It was full. It was all broken. And they hit the passengers. They threatened to throw us overboard. I had no money left. No shoes, no bag, no clothes. They took everything I had. When they threw us overboard, we were still very far from dry land. They threw us in the sea. We nearly drowned. Some people knew how to swim, but I just swallowed water. It was in my ears, it was in my nose. I was underwater. I nearly died.
Everyone here has the same story, but they don't want to dwell on it. 2 trucks have arrived to take them to a reception center, the next step in their odyssey.
I want the United Nations to take me to the US. I have no future here. I want America.
What are you going to do there?
Well, we'll see, but I'm going there.
Many of them dream of reaching rich Western countries, but reality will soon kick in. When the sea is calm, boats dump their human cargo on these shores every day. 70,000 Ethiopians and Somalis this year, a record number. Ethiopians run away from poverty, Somalis flee war, and from Bosaso, they cross the Gulf of Aden. Aden, Yemen's biggest port city and the country's economic lifeline. Most foreigners come here looking for work. Others are looking for a way onto their next destination. But for some, the journey ends before it even began. In this police station, Coast Guards are keeping 4 Ethiopians locked up, huddled in a tiny cell.
All right, let's move them. Come on, come on.
Somali refugees are allowed in Yemen, but Ethiopians are not. A rule dictated by international conventions signed a long time ago, making these teenagers illegal immigrants.
Where'd you come in this time?
It's from Jelba. It's my second time.
The second time. Did they catch you the first time?
No, I made it through.
Abdul Rahman and his friends will soon be sent back to Ethiopia. It's not their first time, and they will probably attempt the crossing over into Yemen again.
They're all young. It's usually the young ones who cross over. These ones are from Ethiopia. Yemen's not their final destination. They're just passing through Yemen to go to Saudi Arabia.
While they wait to be deported, others had better luck. Having shaken off our imposed government escort, we secretly arranged to meet a group of illegal Ethiopian immigrants outside Aden. They've paid Yasser, a smuggler, to get them to Saudi Arabia. He's been doing it for 5 years.
Everyone in Aden knows me. Ethiopians come and find me. I put them in a room. I provide food, whatever they need, with their money. Then I pay this guy. He brings them to the border.
Authorities know who you are?
Yeah, they know me.
And you pay them?
Yeah, I give them money.
How much?
It depends. Sometimes they want 500 Saudi riyals. Sometimes they ask for $50 US. Sometimes 100. Sometimes even 500.
Hassan is in a hurry to leave. He paid $250 for this, but he heard it would be worth it if he made it to Saudi Arabia.
There's not a lot of work here. It's hard for us to find a job, but I heard that in Saudi Arabia there's work. That's why we're going over there to find a better place.
Do you know much about Saudi Arabia?
No, I don't know anything. Nothing at all.
He doesn't know anything. He's just trying his luck.
Time to go. They have 500 kilometers to cover overnight. Tomorrow morning they will be at the Saudi border.
Okay, bye.
Where they hope a new life awaits. Just a few hundred meters away, the life they might have had in Aden's biggest slum. 14,000 Somali refugees live here. This is Little Somalia. Cat is one of the main businesses. Like in Mogadishu, there's no drinking water, no electricity, and above all, no jobs. Habiba has been surviving here for 7 years. Every day she goes out to beg with her newborn daughter. On a good day, she collects $1. In front of the camera, most shop owners feel generous.
Please, I beg you.
Most, but not all. How much do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another 5. That's how much I've got. I need money to buy food for my children. For the 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Did you make good money today?
No, I'm going to keep begging until tonight. Then I'll go home and feed them.
Later that day, back home, Habiba takes off her veil. It's time to do the laundry for her and her 4 children. They'll soon be back from Quranic school. In this cramped courtyard, 6 families scrape by day after day. None of Habiba's neighbors have found a job. After several years here, they've stopped dreaming of a better life.
Yemen's all right, but there's no work here. Every day we go begging, but I'm fed up. I'm fed up with begging all the time.
We can't go back to our country. It's not safe there. And since we don't know where else to go, we stay here, in Yemen.
A life of misery in Yemen. It's not what they'd hoped for. But still, it's better than war in Somalia. So they stay and struggle on.
Cry? How could I not cry? I need money. Without money, I cry. I can't pay rent. I cry. I can't buy milk for my daughter, I cry. I haven't paid rent for 3 months.
Penniless and unemployed in Aden, Habiba has come to regret Harans, a name and a place familiar to all of Yemen's refugees. 2 hours away by car, in the desert, right in the middle of nowhere, this is Harans. Yemen's one and only refugee camp, run by the United Nations. These women have been waiting 24 hours to get in. 5,000 people come knocking at this door every month, new arrivals, all of them.
Every day and every night it's like this. Sometimes there are 100 of them, sometimes 300.
2,000 refugees live under the tents. 10,000 have settled in the houses, what passes for comfortable living conditions in this camp. 65-year-old Sharif has spent the last decade here. Nothing has changed since he arrived. His children's children were born in Harans, and now he worries mostly for them.
The baby's not healthy, he has diarrhea, he vomits. But there's nothing in the hospital today. There's no medication.
Sharif was a well-known tailor for men in Mogadishu. For years, he longed to leave Yemen, but he feels it's too late for him now.
I used to work with my children. They were tailors like me. If only I could send them somewhere, anywhere else, they could find a job. Some people manage to leave and go to Canada or America. If my children ever get that chance, they have to go.
Sharif will probably never leave his shack in Haraz. For those who can muster the energy, there is only one way out of Yemen, the road leading north to Saudi Arabia. And there is only one way to get there: walk, and walk some more. Abu Bakr and his friends are exhausted. They arrived on the same boat from Somalia 1 month ago.
We've been on the road for a month, ever since we left Mogadishu. There's no food, no water, no work. We're gonna have to walk all the way to Saudi Arabia. It's hard, I can't take it anymore. I'm exhausted, I want a car.
Abu Bakr knows this road well. He's already made it to Saudi Arabia once. He was deported, so he's trying again. One thing has changed: cars don't stop anymore to help Somalis. This time, only their legs and determination will get them there.
I have no money. 100, that's all I have.
What can you buy with that?
With that? I can't even buy a meal. You can't do anything with 100.
We have God. He's the only one who'll help us.
We're dying out here. We have no money. We will go to Saudi Arabia. We'll walk.
He's sick. He can hardly walk. He's reached the end of his rope.
You're going to leave him here?
He can't travel anymore. What are we supposed to do? That's life.
They continue their journey, groggy from heat and exhaustion, with 450 kilometers left to go. Each step brings them closer to Saudi Arabia and perhaps to a job, a dream well worth walking for when the only other options are poverty or war.
Reporter Cyril Vanier is with me now here in the studio. Cyril, Yemen is one of the worst countries in the world for freedom of the press. What was it like for you as a journalist shooting there? Did you have any problems? Were you able to work as freely as you would have liked?
Well, yes and no. We were able to do this story because this is one of the stories that Yemeni authorities actually authorize and allow journalists to do. You have to realize that we were followed by a government agent from the minute that we arrived in Yemen to the minute that we left Yemen. Yemen lets journalists do this particular story on Somali refugees because they believe that this actually helps their image, because they welcome Somali refugees. However, even within this story, there are some topics that they do not want us to talk about. And there is one segment of this story when we actually meet the Ethiopian illegal immigrants who are using a smuggler to go up to Saudi Arabia. For that, we had to shake off our government escort. So it's actually quite difficult to film in Yemen. It's difficult to get stories done. And it really depends on whether the government deems that this is good for their image or not.
Cyril, you were telling me that we're now in what's considered to be high season for the refugees crossing the Gulf of Aden. How much longer till the exodus tapers off, or on the contrary, is it just getting worse and worse?
Well, high season every year, it used to be from September to April. It now stretches from September to June, so it seems like almost 12 months of the year are actually high season now. But for the last several years, there's been a very, very high year-on-year increase of the number of people crossing the Gulf of Aden. And this has two reasons, because the war in Somalia has been intensifying, so more and more Somalis have been fleeing Somalia, and due to the economic crisis, poverty in Ethiopia has just been getting worse than it had been, so more and more Ethiopians are crossing the Gulf of Aden. And until those two problems. Those are the root causes of people fleeing their country. Until those two are actually resolved, and there's no sign that they will be in the immediate future, until that happens, no, it's always going to be high season for illegal crossings.
Now, as you said, many of the refugees are fleeing war, and yet they're seeking refuge in a country which has its own civil war. Are they affected at all by the ongoing fighting in the north?
Well, the ongoing fighting is between the government and rebels in the governorate of Sada in the north. And it used to be that Ethiopians, using smugglers to smuggle them into Saudi Arabia, actually drove through that governorate. That can't happen anymore because that entire region is sealed off and no one has access to that region, including illegal immigrants who used to drive through that part of the country. So what they do now is that they use an alternate route. The second effect of the fighting, even though it hasn't spread beyond the governorate, and provided you stay out of that region, you're actually safe. You won't be involved in the fighting. The second effect is that neighboring Saudi Arabia has got involved. They launched several air raids in November, and they now said recently that they're increasing their patrols along that border, that stretch of the border, precisely that stretch of border that illegal immigrants had been using to cross into Saudi Arabia illegally. And so the Saudi Arabians are now arresting more and more illegal immigrants.
Cyril, just very briefly before we go, what kind of effect has this massive influx of refugees, 70,000 this year alone, had on Yemen?
Well, I mean, this is really already stretching overstretched resources. Yemen has had to cut its budget by 50% this year. Unemployment has skyrocketed, and the result is that Somalis and Ethiopians who used to do the really lowly, small jobs, now those are being occupied by Yemenis, and they have no jobs left, which is why, as we saw in the story, many of them have no other alternative but to go begging.
All right. Thank you so much, Cyril Vanier, for coming in and telling us about your piece. Thank you for watching Reporters. That's all the time we have for today's show. We'll see you again soon with another great story from one of our many France 24 reporters around the world.